In 3, 2, 1. Today's episode brought to you by DOOFMIST.
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I'm your host, TheBlevins, and with me, as always, is DeathBlow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much. What's going on?
Oh, it's going, man.
Welcome back.
I know, it's been a while for me. Had a nice little...
What's your name again? What is it? I'm going to forget all your where do you have an underscore, where you don't have an underscore. I forgot. I don't even know.
At least I don't need a calculator to type my name out. But
Rude.
Rude dude. That's me. But yes, I am back after a long hiatus. Lots of good stuff. Lots of stuff going on. Good, bad, and otherwise, whatever. But we are back and ready for action. Luckily, Deathblow held down the fort 2 weeks ago, and then 4th of July held down the fort last week. And also
never leave again.
Just as a huge shout out to Andres from Omnic Lab podcast. Huge shout out to Andres and also to Omnic Lab. The what are we calling them? They're not the sister podcast. They're friends of the show. There we go.
There you go.
But yeah, so huge shout outs to them. Check them out if you don't already. But let's move right into what did we do last week. Death, you want to start it off?
Yeah, so my team ended up having an opening. Our Lucio player ended up with like a work trip he had to go on. It was going to be 2 weeks, and one work trip usually begets a second work trip shortly after that, and it just seemed best to make a swap there. So we've been trying out some new people. I also had my first match of the Open Division. We got 4-0'd. It was not like we played against CLG bad. We were competitive within the maps. We just didn't really capitalize on any of them. It was tough for us to string together some wins, and they were like a borderline GM team, and we're like a borderline Masters team. But nonetheless, I think it went pretty well, and really, the more I play in a 6-stack environment up in the Masters area, it really feels like you take a step, right? Like when you get close, you don't even get to Masters yet. You're like 3,400, and all of a sudden you play against teams that are like, in Masters, and you're not necessarily playing against a lot of 6-stacks anymore. I don't know if 6-stacks, they're a lot more in scrims at that point. But we just wanted to as a group get us to be eligible for the Open Division. So we've been playing in comp, and it gets a little tougher. So it felt good though to kind of, I think, compete with them. I mean, we're 2 people off our main roster. We've talked about how important team cohesion is. The roster we brought has like practiced once or twice maybe before this. So we don't have super high expectations. So other than people getting a little tilted, and there's big stylistic differences between my team and the Omnic Lab team. And in my team, I'm the shot caller, and I tell people what to play, and they listen to me, and I tell people what to do, and they listen to me. And it's not really like over there. It's much more of a group discussion, and people have their roles, but they pick what they play. And so I think there was a little resistance to my wanting people to play specific heroes at times and things like that. But for the most part, we have low expectations, and it's really tough when it's a best of 7 and it's not going well. Like 4 rounds in a row of losing is a little brutal. So,
yeah, that's always a mental block there.
Yeah, it can be a little frustrating, but I mean we're fine. We'll be all right. We're gonna have a bit of a rotating roster, I think, throughout this thing. So towards the end, I'm hoping we play against some of those other teams, because it's through the remaining rounds. We had a random opponent this time, but through the remaining rounds, it'll be people that have the same record as we do.
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to play people kind of in our ballpark, and I'm hoping it kind of levels out and becomes a more even playing field as the tournament progresses. So.
Yeah, so real quick, what is the actual tournament structure? What is the tournament structure like? How does that work?
7 Swiss rounds. You play 1 round a week on Sundays between 4 and 7 p.m. And yeah, so it's
you've
more
got
of a
lot
league style.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've got like win, lose, or otherwise, you've got some good matches to play. In the upcoming
6 more to
weeks.
go. Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was kind of worried that it was going to be like a double elim and then you're just kind of done. But with this style, you actually get to really hone your team in and get the team, even more than just the actual practice. You get to get the team used to playing in the tournament and playing together in the tournament and getting the wins and the losses under their belt and just getting to the point where you don't even need to worry about the tournament jitters. You're just playing the game.
Yeah, and that's really what I'm after and why I wanted to do it. I did kind of want to practice a little bit and have more strategies and stuff like that we could call on instead of doing some kind of basic stuff. But it's better to do it than not do it. Is kind of where I'm at with it at the moment. So we're going in with low expectations.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did for that Hearthstone tournament, but it makes you feel much better about spending the extra time doing the extra work every week because you have a match that means at least a little bit of something,
right?
Even if it's just pride points or whatever. But so for me, I've had a lot of stuff going on these last couple of weeks. I've got a new job lined up, and I'm going to be moving as well. Still in Buffalo, but I'm going to be moving from this apartment to another one. So all that stuff's coming up. I'm thinking that with the new job, I'm going to have more flexibility to either work from home or to focus a little bit more on streaming. And maybe actually playing Overwatch for once, every once in a while. So that's going to be good. I'm very excited about that. That's going to be starting soon, and I'm going to be moving by the end of this month. So good stuff to come, and more good stuff and everything. So that should all be great. Obviously still playing Clash Royale. As well as like a bunch of other games like Magic Card Jump, greatest game of all time, and some weird, silly, stupid Futurama game I'm playing too. Oh, and this other silly game called Hearthstone that I need to start playing again because the new expansion's coming out. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. But let's talk a little bit about what you guys did last week, and by you guys I mean the greater. The Overwatch community that's not literally us two. One thing I wanted to talk about was just a really, it's kind of an interesting, I thought it was more interesting at first because I thought it was a full ride, but UC Irvine is offering an Overwatch scholarship. I say only, but it's actually a lot of money still, obviously, to play Overwatch, but it's a $2,500 scholarship yearly to play Overwatch at UC Irvine. So if you are a college student looking to go to UC Irvine, maybe try to get that Overwatch scholarship if you're in that, if that's your fancy. So, which I would imagine it might be if you're listening to the High Noon. But so that'll be kind of cool. But let's move right along to my favorite segment of the show that I've been missing so much.
Overwatch Today, meme of the week.
Of course, the meme of the week from Overwatch Today. And Deathblow pointed out very aptly that this meme is actually just us. So it is a picture of Anakin Skywalker and Mace Windu from I think it might be the second or third episode 1 or episode 2, I don't remember. And it's Anakin going, "Master Windu, tell me a joke," and then Mace Windu goes, "The rank of master." Anakin goes, "I don't get it." And Mace Windu goes, "I know you don't." Then it shows Anakin crying, and it's zoomed in on Mace Windu's face. It says, "Take a seat." And it's so apt because
it's good.
It's us. It's me, 100%. Deathblow, tell me a joke.
You finished your placement games.
I don't get it.
I know you don't.
Take a seat. So
we have that conversation once a week. So
yeah, but I am going to be doing it sometime, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. Once DOOMFIST goes live, I'm hoping DOOMFIST goes live before the end of the season because I think I'm making myself a DOOMFIST main. Even though a man has no main, I'm still doing it. But let's move right along.
All I heard was as soon as DOOMFIST is released, the beard bet is reinstated.
Yeah, I'm up to we can confirm that. And the beard is getting quite hefty, I must say. Even in the warm summer months, the beard is.
Honestly, both of ours are getting ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, I'm like almost down to my chest at this point, which is pretty great, I must say.
I'm there.
Well, I mean, if I like go down, we're not doing this on the.
Yeah, we'll do it on our own time.
Don't need to do it now, unless people want us to do it now. Tweet at us at New Podcast. We want to see the beard length conversation happen. We'll do it as like a little. Extra
we'll make a VOD.
Yeah, we'll make an extra VOD for you, for the creepy people out there, and also just the beard lovers. But we're on a little bit of a tight schedule because we decided to watch a bunch of tournaments. Also, by the way, snap worth it because it was one of the best series.
Yeah, it was awesome
matches ever. But let's move right along to
It's tournament talk.
So we've got, of course, our Apex update, and this is not the end, right? This can't be. It hasn't been 10 years, right? We still have more matches to play, right?
Exactly one more match to play.
Okay. Right. So we had the final playoffs, or not the finals, but the playoffs before the finals. So we had Africa Freaks Blue versus Lunatic High. Lunatic High 4-0'd them. Kongdu, Panthera 4-0'd Envy in the other match, and then in the third place match, we saw Africa Freaks Blue take out Envy 4-1. So Envy finishes in fourth place, Africa Freaks Blue finishes in third place, and the finals are going to be Lunatic High versus Kongdu Panthera. So definitely some high level matches. Well, I mean, obviously a high level match to be played, but we saw. I mean, when Envy's getting 4-0'd, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little rough. We've talked about how worn out, especially Taimu is just by the the nonstop trips, and how I really do think that plays in here somewhat for them. I mean, maybe why the matchups were not really quite so competitive. Not that it's unthinkable that they would lose to these guys or should be heavy favorites even, but it's just got to add to it and make things a little tough. And when things start to snowball away from you in these long sets, they snowball fast, and it's really hard to, after 3 rounds of losses. That's why reverse sweeps are so impressive, because after you lose 3 maps in a row, you're so drained, it's so exhausting that the thought of turning it around and going on a reverse tear of your own to take it back is so daunting and just really impressive.
Yeah, it's just, like, these best of 7s are just such a grind. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, you just, especially when you're down to 3-0, you just look at that and you're just like, you know what? Let's just go home.
Right?
I guess that's what I did. I wish I had more story about that, but
how I felt on Sunday in the last round. I'm like, all right, let's get this over with. I want to be done. I have a family dinner to get to. Let's go.
Right. Yeah. Especially when you could be doing anything else. But no, it's definitely it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. But definitely going to be a really great match between Lunatic High and Kongdu Panthera in the finals of the Apex tournament. So finally, we can talk about the end of that tournament. But I'm sure the next one's probably going to be next week anyway. But let's move right along to the Overwatch Contenders, the, of course, official Blizzard Overwatch tournament. So in this event, we saw Immortals, Kungarna, FNRG, and Team Liquid in the top 4 of these playoffs. And then we saw Immortals take out Team Liquid in the finals 4-1. So as we'll be talking about in just a second as well, Immortals they almost seem like they've leveled up. Like, they've always been a contender, no pun intended, but they've always seemed to be that, like, I mean, at one point they were like the top of NA, and then they kind of went down again. They had the, like, rivalry with LG Evil for a while. and LG Evil seemed to take them in the early phases, and now it seems like Immortals has kind of stepped up, and in the last couple of months has really stepped up their game.
Yeah, definitely. And really, I think the thing about them that's been so impressive is just how absolutely consistent they are throughout everything that they're doing and everything that's going on. Is they're just constantly at this, their level of improvement is consistent. Everything, their level of play is consistent. They really feel like when you watch them, they're a team that out communicates people, and it's just really fun to watch them work as a team. And you can just right when you're watching them play that like you can almost hear the call outs in their comms, right? Like they're like, oh, Winston, and he's dead. Like it's just it was like right before that. So it's been a lot of fun to watch them continue to get better, and they've been really silent about their success, I feel like, too. And it's been great to watch. Obviously, they've made some roster changes recently. So much as far as yesterday, they made a roster change in the middle of a round or a tournament match. They brought in Envy, one of the Korean players that they brought in. Is also Kareev is another one of them who was really, really a standout player for them.
Insane.
Super good. The Zenyatta play lately in this meta, I mean, maybe it's just my bias as a Zenyatta player, but it's just been so much fun to watch. It's been really, really impressive. But yeah, no, they really, really a consistent team, and we've been talking about them a little bit for a long time, but I definitely agree with you. They haven't really gotten the attention that they fully have deserved throughout this entire process as a team that just is constantly playing at a really, really high level, and the NA scene that's really crowded with top tier talent. So.
Yeah, and I mean, also of note, Team Liquid making another finals appearance. Really, I'm still waiting for them to seal the deal. I really want to see them seal the deal one of these times and win one of these major tournaments. They've strung together a number of really good finishes, but they just can't seem to seal it.
Yeah, it was really impressive, too. If you watch it, I'm pretty sure in the semifinal there against FNRGFE, they actually reverse swept. So they were down 2-0 in that matchup and then came back and won the next 3 to close things out. So a really, really impressive tournament from them. I'm a little disappointed, like you are, that they weren't able to take this one home, because I did pick them in my bracket that we did on the Discord channel, which it's been a lot of fun. It's growing. Another reminder to you guys, join the High Noon Podcast Discord channel. You can catch the link. I'm pretty sure it's still our pinned tweet, so make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, and another thing I want to make sure we talk about here too is leading up into this bracket for contenders, we talked a lot about how LG Evil had a free pass through the group stages. They were like undefeated and barely lost a map going the entire way, and they were still sleeping when they came out against Kungarna in the first round of this and got taken out 3-1. So there's something to be said from that, and I don't know, they're a team that's been a little on the outskirts trying to adjust to the dive meta a little bit. It feels like Vol needs to find a home. He really stands out to me as a great Zarya player, but the meta doesn't allow for it really at the moment. So there's 0 Reinhardt happening right now, literally in the limited sample size that we have of comp stats. Winston's at 100%. Reinhardt is at 0, so he did not make the stream at all during the Beat Invitational this weekend. And
the world we live in now. If we would have told that 8 months ago us, like, what would we say?
Right?
What would we say? Well, I know what I would say. They let hero stacking back on.
I think I would have been half right. And I would have said, oh, well, they made Winston's shield recharge when he drops it now instead of when it expires. But I also would have said they put it back to 1,000 HP. I expected this to make Winston better, the change with the shield. I didn't expect it to do quite this. But, Winston's a big part of the dive meta, but I really think it's the tandem of like the D.Va buffs they made recently as well as the Winston change. Like, everything kind of went in this direction. And it's definitely a trend we've been seeing in Overwatch where changes don't see their final form for months. When something shifts and something comes out or is released, it takes 2 months for you to really feel the impact of it. So that's something we're definitely going to have to remember and consider. Even later in this episode, we're going to have to remember and consider that timeline of when things really solidify after changes are made.
Well, I think it also is another thing we talked about, and real quickly we'll touch on this, is that like Winston is really good at doing AoE damage, so to speak, where you're damaging multiple people, and then you have your pinpoint Tracer, your pinpoint Genji finishing off these people, where like a Tracer might be able to do 90% of a person's HP, or maybe a Winston does 50, and then the Tracer can pick them off, but he does 50 to a bunch of people. So, I think
leave me alone.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like you would never really realize that in non pro matches, because you're not coordinated enough to do this on ladder, especially at my trash tier. You're never seeing that. It's just the Winston does a bunch of damage and it does nothing, and then you die, and then all of the people live at 75% HP.
Yeah, and for anybody out there really looking for that kind of next level, how to combine your Winston and your Diva strat, I don't play tank, so I'm not the best, most reliable source. But really, from what I'm seeing, it's not even about like, excuse me, 1 second. It's not really about like defense matrixing your Winston. It's about like alternating, right? Like he drops his shield and then he steps back and the Diva steps up and uses a little defense matrix, but face tanks a little bit. Then the shield's back up, so the Reinhardt steps forward, and then save your defense matrix for when a Zarya's charging you, or a Tracer's coming at you full bore, or the Pharah ult happens, stuff like that. So I don't know. It's been really, really. I don't know, as a dive team player in a Zenyatta main, it's a lot of fun right now. If for no other reason than I get to play a good amount of Sombra too.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But let's move on to the EU side, where we saw United, Laser Kittens, 1-2-3, and Bazooka Puppies in the top 4 of that event. Then we saw United take out 1-2-3. In the finals 4-1. So both Immortals and United qualifying for season 1 of Contenders.
In EU, all 8 of those teams will return.
Oh, all 8.
Yes.
Nice.
In
awesome.
NA, it was just 6, right? So so we didn't cover that. We should mention it real fast. Qualifying for season 1, I'm like 99% sure on this. It's Immortals. FaZe Clan, I believe, beat LG Evil for the win into season 1. So LG Evil remained asleep through that matchup as well. Kungarna makes it in. Renegades beat Envision for the last spot there as well. FNRGFE, Team Liquid, and then Envious and Rogue had spots reserved for them by Blizzard. So that's why only 6 made it from NA, but they're all 8 are making it from EU.
Okay, so that's awesome. And it's nice. I mean, on the one hand, it's like, well, why don't you just make them play it? But on the other hand, like, the whole thing about Overwatch and Overwatch League and Contenders and all that is the storyline. So we need to have the teams start to get a little bit more consistent.
Yeah. And those teams made prior commitments like before Contenders was announced. Like what was Envy supposed to do? Pack up and leave Apex? Like that looks bad for everybody. And
Yeah.
So, and that's why Rogue got a free pass into this, the stage that they got into, because they were at the Seat Story Cup event. There was some considerations made for big teams that had made commitments to be traveling and representing the game and the esport as a whole in other places. So you want them to continue to do that and help you out. So,
which is awesome that Blizzard is making those considerations for non-Blizzard events, because it was, I think it's been kind of we're not really sure how Blizzard is going to treat these
and
events.
And everything's been so fast. It's like, here's Contenders, and it was like, okay, great, I signed up, and then like 3 weeks later we're playing. Go. Yeah. So it was definitely fast.
Because it's the opposite of what Overwatch League has been for us.
Yeah. But looking at the bracket here, some things that stand out. Obviously, your favorite team, Misfits, fell 3-0 to Bazooka Puppies. So I think there's definitely something amiss there with Misfits, and I think they need to get that figured out. What form that will take, whether it be a roster change up, whether it'll be, just a reset, like a week off or 2 weeks off, and then they come back and just boot camp a little bit. I don't know. But Bazooka Puppies is a fine team, but not one that I think we really expected a team like Misfits to fall to.
3-0 for sure.
No, definitely not 3-0. Rest in Pajamas is the awesomely named Ninjas in Pajamas roster. That's after the org let them go. That was great to see them back in action. Unfortunately, 1-2-3, who I talked about with Andres, is kind of being the up-and-coming team in Overwatch right now, the one to really watch. It's a little overshadowed by how FNRGFE came from like literally nowhere, but with known names, right? So 1-2-3 is a team that's been around for a little bit, just kind of buried in the lack of events happening on the EU side of things. Really broke out and made a run at this. Went up against the United in the finals. Got all the way there. So really good job by them. United also kind of put the hurt on the Movistar Riders roster, who lost their organization recently. So unfortunate to see that trend continue, but I think that's just going to continue until the league is fully formed.
It has to, right? Like, these
100%.
teams see the $20 million and like, well, that's just not even in the ballpark. So, we're not going to, like, our goal was to try to get established and maybe make a run for the league, and then hope that the 20 millions that were talked about, 6 months ago were just rumors, and that we'd be able to, find maybe a, $5 million spot that we could scrub together. But like, I know, like, knowing people in the industry, in different capacities, like, getting the funding, it's not super easy when you don't have, like, the big names, like, already backing you. Like, yes, if you have Shaq behind you, it's not that hard to get the extra, X million. You have Rick Fox behind you, it's not that hard to get the next 10 million. But when you are Movistar Riders, and your claim is that you had a good Overwatch team, and you're building your brand on that, it's just not, like, the getting the funding in the millions is already a huge hurdle. And then if you don't think you can get 20 million, you don't think you can get a spot, then.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be seeing this if the teams were, if they were sure that there was going to be a ton of non-Overwatch League, events taking place while it was going on. But it's just the uncertainty makes it impossible to calculate the potential return on investment. And there's nobody out there anywhere that's going to spend any amount of money, at least as many smart businessmen that are going to have, a large quantities of cash coming around to fund an esports team. They're not going to spend money on something where they can't feel relatively confident that they're going to get a return on investment, that there's not value there for them. And any money spent on Overwatch right now, if you're not already owning a team, is really potentially wasted. Just don't know. Don't necessarily get something from it if you start spending money now. So.
Right, you have to put you need to spend a lot of money getting a team that's actually good enough to place right now, and then also have 20. I mean, maybe not all the spots are 20 million. Maybe there will be some lower tier in terms of price locations, but even if it's a 5 or 10 million, like we say that like it's small because we're talking about sports, but like from a business investment standpoint, like. It's got to be tough to do that. It's just got to be tough, especially like it. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of them were expecting to just get to just ride it and hope that their performances would be able to fund it and maybe get some sponsors from that. But I think a lot of the potential sponsors and whatnot kind of got spooked, or are like, yeah, we'll just wait till league starts and then we'll start getting in. Which I don't blame them either for that. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anything else on the contender side, or should we move on to the beat?
Yeah, we should move on. It's old news anyways.
Let's drop the beat. Wrong segment. But we had the Beat Invitational, which this one was, in fact, a doozy. In the top 4, we saw Immortals, Arc 6, Rogue, and FNOW.
FNRGFE.
Is that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is a FNRGF. You know what it is. And in the finals, which is what Death and I were watching together on the stream beforehand, we saw Immortals fall to Rogue, 4-3, and it was almost the reverse sweep.
Yeah, it was really crazy. It was right to the last second. It finished on Anubis and then on Volskaya. How many times can you say that map combination closed out a tournament? And how many times can you say it was super exciting and great to watch and a whole lot of fun? These teams are both some of the better teams in the tournament at running the Sombra strategy on 2CP, so they both wanted to go there. They both had a map they felt they were really strong running it on. Rogue, in particular, really likes to run the offensive Sombra on these maps. Basically, the plan is, we actually saw this in the tournament too, where they get grouped up on the left side by the Mega Health Pack, right? And Immortals didn't really pressure them, so they had Unco dropped the translocator and he stealthed out and he ran all the way to the second point. This is before any progress. They even touched the first point. He ran all the way to the second point and hacked the Mega and then translocated back to the team. So now they initiate and go to try to start the fight. And in this case, Immortals immediately pounced on them and murdered them and ended it right on the spot. But if they'd gotten out and they'd been able to win that fight, they would have actually gone back to the second point and had that health pack already locked down by the offensive Sombra, which makes things incredibly difficult for the defense. You're not getting your ultimate from after you use it from the the progress you built on the first point. It's going to take you a long while without that Mega on Anubis point 2 to get your EMP up. So that was a lot of fun, and Unco is just absolutely ridiculous, and Rogue is just absolutely ridiculous at abusing those packs. It's kind of disgusting. He has it every fight. It's out of this world.
Yeah, it's another one of those things where we're now how many months has Sombra been out, and we're just now starting to see what I'm thinking might be close to final form Sombra.
Feels like about 2 months.
Has it only been 2 months?
I don't know, but we were talking about the 2-month time frame for characters to reach their final form. So
yeah.
I'm sticking with 2 months.
It's been a while. No, it's got to be.
No, Orissa's probably more like 2 months, I would think. Yeah.
Sombra came out around November, right? Because that's when BlizzCon was, and she was announced at BlizzCon.
Oh, okay, yeah. But she had that long even wait after that. So yeah, it's way longer. It's about 6 months.
Yeah, it's probably 6 months, but still,
yeah,
we're now starting to see the final form, or she was never being used like this before.
No, she's a support hero now. And for all intents and purposes, I mean, she still has the damage output with her left click, but her other abilities don't do damage. So it's really hard to play her like a true flanking. Like, she's not going to output the damage level that a Tracer does or that a Genji does. They have other abilities that deal damage, and Sombra doesn't, unless you count negating the entire health pool of Zenyatta when you press Q, which definitely helps. But I mean, she's in this like hybrid support attack role right now, and people are able to sacrifice the support. It's definitely nothing I ever saw coming when they told me what the kit was. It took us all a little to realize just quite the impact that healing your Winston over and over again with a hacked health pack would have on the ultimate bar. So, that took a while to figure out. Then it takes a long time for teams to execute that correctly. You can see that in all the matches Rogue plays. They're the ones using the Sombra correctly. They're the only ones that have it, like almost literally every single fight. You watch him use it and you're like 20, 40, 60, 80, and he's got it again. Like and it's not too far off that. So, it's been really impressive and really fun to watch that so far. And really highlighted in this tournament too.
Yeah, so definitely, I mean, if we're given a match of the week, it's got to be that one, right? Like that finals between.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%. One thing I will note is that in the semi, so Rogue and Immortals actually played earlier, and Rogue ended up winning 3-1 in round 3 of the playoffs. But there was at the end of Rogue's last match where they won. It was actually pretty close to Immortals winning on second point again of Anubis, and I believe it was AKM on Reaper of all characters, just kind of like, okay, well, the map's about to end and we're about to lose, let's just go on the point and Death Blossom, and gets a double kill, then gets a double kill and a Diva mech, and then finishes off an ulted Winston, and just like out of nowhere just wins the map for them. So it's like we might start seeing Reaper again. And actually we saw a decent amount of Reaper comparatively, not a ton, but compared to what we've seen in the past, we've seen a decent amount of Reaper. But let's move on to the next segment. We're going to talk a little bit about the pick rates for that tournament.
Let's break it down!
Breaking it down. We'll start with the pick rates, because we were talking about the beat tournament. Do you want to kind of highlight some of the interesting ones, Death?
Yeah, so we've got 7 hours and 15 minutes worth of playtime here across the Beat Invitational to look at, where we know what was played, and everything's been calculated here for us by Winston's Lab. So another shout out to them. Thanks for all the stats work that you guys do. Things are very, very stagnant right now. When you look at things,
do we have a new Fantastic Four?
We do, as a matter of fact, because there are 4 heroes all over 96 basically 97% pick
Yeah.
rate here. We have Winston, number 1, 100%. Not 1 minute was played with a Reinhardt.
1 second.
Not 1 second was played with a Reinhardt. So 0 Reinhardt, all Winston for the main tank. If you're playing in your team and you want to switch, you're probably wrong. Lucio comes in at 99.65%. Clearly, I was wrong when I thought that he might have a little trouble in the dive comp, the speed boost. And even playing him, he feels fine in dive. There is only one exception to when you might not run a Lucio, and that's when you're on defense, somewhere like Kings Row 1. I'm trying to think of, Anubis 1, where you're just not going to be chasing, really. So you just kind of hang back, and you have more more anti-heals to go to your tanks. It's not something that's popular. It's not something that's mandatory. It's just something that on occasion, 1 or 2 teams will break out.
Yeah, and they were saying that it's more like on Anubis 1, it's so unlikely that you're actually going to get that full hold that you might as well try something a little bit more risky. Which I believe Immortals pulled out the Ana at one point instead of the Lucio just to try to get some quick picks and maybe get some aggression going to try to defend that. And then if they lose, they just swap.
Yeah, because there's nothing quite like when you're trying to execute a dive and there's just this huge anti-grenade from Ana that drops up, on the wall over your whole team's head, and you're all unable to get heals. That's definitely the worst. Yeah. Looking forward, though, we have D.Va in at 98.65%, and we have Tracer in at 96.91%. So those guys are pretty much seeing play 100% of the time without really any exceptions. Genji comes in next, so that's your top 4, your fantastic 4. Yeah. Genji comes in next, 65.97%. Zenyatta comes in next at 55.25%. Then we've got Pharah Mercy, almost deadlocked, 29%. And Sombra at 12.5% and 5%. Soldier, 3% Ana. Some people still like the Widow on Ruins and on Anubis 0.1, and a little bit of Reaper and cleanup situations as well. So it's very stagnant at the moment. Things are very well decided. There's basically 3 strategies going on. There's your Sombra 2CP strategy. There is your Pharah Mercy strategy. And then there is your 2-2-2 dive comp with the Winston, the D.Va, the Tracer, and the Genji usually. Sometimes there's a Pharah in there with your Zen, or you're having the Pharah Mercy. But things are very very stagnant at the moment. And but all in all, it's kind of fun to watch, right? And I do think there's room to brew. I think there's room to brew in this meta, and I think there's, we really haven't seen Horizon Lunar Colony see any tournament play yet. Nope. I'm not sure I'm really digging dive very much there. My team's had a lot of success with Reinhardt's going up the right hallway, up the stairs, past the doors into space. You just kind of walk through up there. We put a Reaper behind our Reinhardt and just literally walk onto the point, and teams have had some trouble answering it. We keep a D.Va around in case anybody tries to flank us or anything like that, but it's been really strong for us, and I think people are gonna, maybe use a little different strategy there. The Sombra strategy does not feel great to me there. The health packs are a little weird, so I don't expect that to carry over into that particular 2CP map. Much like I expect Sombra strategy to basically die on Hanamura as well. I'm not as big a fan of it there. I almost prefer to attack with the Sombra than I do defend with it. But yeah, so I don't know. It's been a little decided and a little solved, but somebody's going to come out and do something drastically different, I think. And if nothing else, DOOMFIST is coming fast and furious.
I was just going to say that someone may be a guy with a gigantic gauntlet punching people to death in DOOMFIST. So for those of you who have been living under a rock, literally, because almost every post on the front page of the Overwatch Reddit is about DOOMFIST. Also, almost every clickbait article, meme, YouTube video, all about DOOMFIST. Everyone's hyped about DOOMFIST out. Unfortunately, and the only bad news about DOOMFIST is that he's not voiced by Terry Crews, which is definitely on Blizzard's part just shame bells all around. Shame. So they definitely deserve the shame bells for that. But so Death, I have not been able to. I've watched some gameplay of DOOMFIST. He looks really awesome. He looks like a fighting character. It looks like a fighting game character. Like he looks like he's from like Tekken or something, or like Pokken Tournament or one of those weird 3D fighters. Like how does he feel like actually playing him?
He feels basically like a fighting game character, and he's been a whole lot of fun. I think he's going to really be very comfortable for Genji one tricks and mains, or specialists to really sink their teeth into and get into earlier than the rest of us. He plays very up close, obviously, since he punches, and he does have the shotgun out of his left knuckles, which is a really interesting and weird dynamic. It auto reloads. You can't force reload that, so it's just over time it reloads. Yeah, so it's really interesting and different. It's kind of like a little baby Roadhog left click. Doesn't have near as many projectiles or do as much damage, but it's a sizable chunk, when you're hitting somebody up close. But he's combo, like he just seems like a combo breaker character, right? Like I had this moment when I was trying him out in a 3v3 with some teammates where I hit the stun. You have this ability where from height you can like drop down and hit him with the hit the ground with the flat of your fist, and then it like stuns him for a second. So I hit that, and then I uppercutted my opponent, and then I charged up a charge and knocked him right into a wall. So it was a 3-hit combo that just absolutely obliterated the person. And you don't even have to be good. Oh, it was the most satisfying feeling in Overwatch I think ever. It was instantly dream shattered by Yankee, who's a far better Doomfist than me already after 5 minutes on the PTR. But yeah, it's he's our Genji player, like I said. So I think it's going to be really easy for them because you're very up close and personal. Think of Genji using his ultimate, how he's right in everybody's face, and when you watch the esports highlights of the Genjis, you're like, I can't see anything that's going on. I can't do that close. I can't track like that. It's insane that they can. But it's where Doomfist eats. It's where he lives. So it'll be interesting to see which player. I can't wait to see which player on each team ends up playing it, right? Because I think he is going to make kind of an immediate impact into the esports scene, and then just continue to level up and get even more more played and more ridiculous, and really shake things up. Some of the results I've heard from some of the scrims that have gone on, and I've just heard some tell that he's not great in dive, but he's really good at breaking dive, and like these triple tank strategies with just a Doomfist as DPS is really, really hard for a dive team to break through. So I'm really excited to see how that all plays out. And I'm actually thinking about, I think it looks like I will be scrimming on the PTR in 25 minutes or so.
Nice, which is a good note that we will be wrapping up rather soon. Just a couple more things to talk about here. But I'm definitely excited about Doomfist. I think at the very least he's going to be a very different type of hero. And we kind of were talking before the show, like we think, you think he's probably going to get nerfed in 2 weeks, just like every...
months.
2 months, sorry. Just like every other hero, like it's like, I think people right now are crying that he's OP, but I think once he gets live, the bad players will be like, oh, he's not OP, he's awful. But then actually he is OP, or
he's OP because everybody watched Siegel play him and Tim the Tatman in random PTR games with nobody's on the other side. Like he's good and he's gonna make an impact. Do I think he's overpowered right now? Like, do I think he's gonna come out and break the game day one? No.
He might break it with his fist.
He will try.
Speaking of which, we never revealed this before because we had an NDA, but now that Doomfist has officially been announced, we have to say that the 1v1s on Kings Row versus Jeff Kaplan were actually with Jeff Kaplan using Doomfist. So Deathblow knew about Doomfist for over a year now.
Yeah, the ultimate, my idea. I was really into Smite back then, and I was told Jeff, I'm like, listen.
Thor's ult is awesome.
Thor's ult, bring it in. We need it in this game. We need it.
Do you get to like actually see, like, do you like actually jump up in the air and you can see like from up in the air, or is it?
You don't see yourself. You're focused on the thing on the ground. It's really interesting though. You move really fast, and we found out that you can actually go up into the sky with 2 HP, go into your spawn room, heal up, come back out, and drop down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy when we figured that out. It took a 3v3 map where the spawns are right there, you know what I mean? So it's probably not going to be super relevant, but I thought it was really cool. I'm guessing you might be able to, you might be on the ground. So, where your character is, even though you don't actually see him there and he's invulnerable, there's a chance your character model's there. So I need to figure out if you can pick up health packs.
I wonder if that's, intended or if that's just a thing they overlooked.
It might not be, because there does seem to be a couple things that need to be cleaned up off PTR before they can put this guy live.
Yeah.
Mostly like pathing and jump routes. Some of them are ridiculous.
Oh yeah, the last thing I think we have to talk. Oh no, we'll talk about the Overwatch League article real quick too. But yeah, I have an interesting video in the show notes about getting to the middle of Nepal on one of the Nepal maps in about 9 seconds with DOOMFIST hitting a weird jump path and a charge path. So that's really interesting. But any last second thoughts on DOOMFIST before we talk about Overwatch League real quick?
It's pronounced DOOFMIST.
DOOFMIST, of course. But last thing we want to talk about this week is ESPN put out an Overwatch League article where they, I'm guessing, got some exclusive deets on some Overwatch League stuff. And I'll just read one of the snippets that was a couple of the snippets that were pretty interesting from that. So New York Mets owner Fred Wilpon and Deathblow's favorite New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft have signed letters of intent to take part in the league. The reports say that teams will be located in LA, San Fran, New York, Boston in the U.S., Shanghai, China, Seoul, and North Korea.
South Korea, probably.
Oh, sorry, South Korea. Wow. Nope. Actually, it is North Korea. It's definitely North Korea.
They have a casting position open for the North Korean team. You want to go live there?
As long as I get to sell popcorn, which is not allowed in North Korea. The buy-in costs for LA and San Francisco teams were reportedly $20 million, which is approximately what it costs to live in the city of San Francisco. So that's actually kind of a steal. But the prices for the rest were not disclosed. Kraft Sports Group will get the Boston team, according to the report, and Wilpon from the Mets will claim the other half of the natural-born rivalry in New York. And established esports organizations will take the other two U.S. cities, L.A. to Immortals and San Francisco to NRG. So I don't know, and Death, you might be able to confirm this or confirm that it's not confirmed. Are those all of the teams that are going to be for now, or are those just the...
Those are just the teams that they can be confirmed, where they're currently trying very hard to place somebody in those cities. I do think there's going to be more teams than that, because what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
It's four
8.
U.S.
That's 8 teams. So, I mean, that's a possible number. Like, that's a reasonable number to start a league with. But I think we're going to see that number get to 12 probably, but I don't know for sure.
I mean, it just seems... I mean, I guess it depends on the schedule. I guess they're probably not going to be playing a ton of matches, right? I mean, 8 teams in a league for probably half of what a normal sports season would be. There's how many teams in the NFL? 32?
32, yeah.
Okay, so
it's worth noting, too, that these are 4 teams and 4 U.S. teams and 4 Korean teams. So there's your conferences, there's your divisions, there's your starting point. So this might be the end, but I don't have anything confirming that there's only going to be 8. I would lean that direction now, but I would still, I'm holding out hope. I'd like to see 12.
Yeah, I mean, and nothing EU at all.
They'll be
EU
expanding
contenders.
For sure.
So it'll be interesting. Definitely keeping our eyes and ears open for this. But I mean, super super exciting. I mean, I obviously want to see a Toronto team, or I want to see something that's at least like drivable distance for us that we could go to. Like New York and Boston are both 7-8 hours away, so that's kind of a rough drive, but I definitely want to go to those games.
Yeah, I think for sure though I'm leaning towards being a New York fan, just because New York and Boston do always hate each other quite a bit. So I respect that.
I will be Boston.
Yeah, dead to me.
I just can't wait for the teams to start getting I can't wait for there to start being merch and for them to start doing promos and then
we're gonna get a whole round of logo unveilings, merch
and for
unveilings.
Them to start needing me to work for them and all this good stuff. We're gonna split up High Noon Podcast. One of us is gonna go to New York and one of us is gonna go to Boston. It's just gonna be the greatest rivalry of all time.
One of us will murder one of the other ones.
Yeah, shotgun on not getting murdered.
False. That's gonna go. Bring it.
Okay.
We'll fight to the death for the right to murder. Yeah, never.
Why do you think I said shotgun? It's in my fist because I am DOOMFIST. But that's about all we've got for that. Definitely going to. I mean, this is what we're putting our beat on. Like, we're going to be covering any and all Overwatch League stuff that comes up.
The big news to me is the LA and the San Francisco teams. I mean, LA was a big market, and we know there was a lot of esports orgs that wanted it, right? So the fact that Immortal scooped it up and is locked in there, I think is a really big deal.
And
also, NRG is locked in.
NRG, which is weird because two things are weird. So, Hollywood Hammers
stinks, and what?
Hollywood Hammers, as you might tell from the name, is based in Hollywood. They just moved there, and NRG just based in DC. So, like, are they just like, yeah, JK? Well, I mean, obviously Hammers has nothing to do with this, but like Immortals, I'm guessing didn't really have a spot necessarily. But it's just interesting to be like, yeah, no, we're taking these spots. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you always have usually have out of town people that are moving in to purchase the teams. You know what I mean? So now they kind of get to pick it, and I think there's more important things than where you're from and hometown thing. When you're making a $20 million investment, you want to go for the bigger market for the the better merchandise sales, things like that. Even if it costs more,
I 100% agree. It was just weird because NRG made that like deal with like the Washington DC, like with the actual like city or town or whatever it technically is,
right?
Like a few months ago, where they were like, "Yeah, we're going to be hosting events in DC," and it's just weird to me that they would then be like, "Yeah, no, actually, we're going to do this." I mean, it makes sense from their very well funded team. So I'm hoping to reach out to some of the other owners of other teams, maybe get Devin back on, maybe talk to Rage from Hammers and just see if we can get some insights, if they can talk about some of that stuff, because it's just interesting, like what their conversations are with the league and what they're thinking about and what they're looking at. So
yeah, as soon as the NDA is lifted, we're going to try to tap anybody we know that we can talk to about what that process was like, because I personally, at least, I'm enamored by it. I can't possibly know enough or ask enough questions about how the inner workings of forming this league is going. Like, I want to be in the room, just a fly on the wall,
Yeah. So Rage, if you're listening, hit me up on Discord or something, and we'll set something up. I want to know what you can let me know for sure. But I think that's gonna be it. Death has practice in just a couple of minutes. I want to give him time to maybe munch down on a sandwich. But Death, any last minute stuff before we get going?
We do have a couple of iTunes reviews, so I hope you got your shame bell ready, because that's got to happen. Unfortunately, they're not both good, so let's get the bad one out of the way first. 1-star review titled "For God's Sakes." The first word is TheBlevins. Hit the bell.
There it is.
Shame.
All right, TheBlevins needs to fix his audio issues. He goes from whispering to loud as heck constantly. I have to turn my audio way up when he talks sometimes, and others my ears get blown off. He sounds like he is either mouth deep in the mic or 10 feet away. Listen to your own podcast and tell me honestly that this isn't happening. Please fix it. Once fixed, I will change this review.
Shame.
Explain yourself while I cough.
Yeah, I'll fix it. The end.
Yeah, so it's really weird. Excuse me, I'm apparently dying, but it's really weird because I should be hearing what is hitting the recording, right? So right. I should be noticing it, right, that it's happening. And there's a little bit of a difference. If I had to guess, it's just you turning your head too much or, to the side. So we'll have to make a concerted effort there. But again, I don't hear anything that should be like blowing out your speakers versus unable to hear it. Like, that should affect me as well. So if you have any prime examples, I can't stress this enough, to help us fix it so we can try to troubleshoot it and figure out what's going on. Put a comment on the YouTube video with a timestamp. Like, he gets just so quiet here because as much as I'd love to listen to every minute of my own voice talking back to me for an hour, like, if you've never listened to a recording of your own voice, it's really, really tough to go through. Not everybody's afflicted by the hatred for their own voice. I am, however, afflicted by it. So It's a little tough. Just do it. We'll do everything and anything we possibly can, including purchase new hardware. Like if we have to, if it doesn't get better, we'll buy Blevins this exact microphone that I'm using right here and put it in front of him if we have to. I mean, we're going to figure it out.
I'm pretty close to needing or wanting a new mic upgrade anyway, just because this one I think is almost run its course. We've just had so many issues with it, and I think it's a good mic.
Well, you just made yourself louder right now, and one of the most starkest audio differences I've ever heard in the middle of the broadcast.
I didn't actually do anything, so maybe this might be a sign.
There might be. We don't disagree with you, or we don't disbelieve you, but we're just having trouble troubleshooting it. So timestamps would be helpful. We're really sorry.
Or at least like a round what time, or like.
Yeah, like halfway through the episode. It happened 5 times in the last half of this episode, something like that. Anything you can do to narrow it down.
I'll make something like when I laugh, it's too much. That's going to be tough. I can like try to laugh away from the mic, which is probably something I should do anyway. But
yeah, I'm an IT guy that does not extend to the audio world, so we're a little out of our depth when doing all the technical stuff for podcasting. So our apologies. Please be patient. We will do anything we can for you.
We can tap some of our other.
Yes, we know
friends,
people. Omnic Lab is not audio technology illiterate like us. So if we have to, we will get their help. And maybe the answer is I've got to do the recording so I can get I got to do the audio and get the voice meter back up and running. But anyways,
maybe we just have an audio engineer that helps us out.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. We will continue to work on it and improve on that regard. Our apologies. Anyways, the next iTunes review here is a 5-star review.
Woo.
Best competitive OW podcast. If I want my fix of competitive OW talk, pro scene updates, and opinions, along with detailed patch info, this is the podcast I listen to. They do the best job at laying out everything Overwatch in a compact yet very knowledgeable way. Keep up the great work. Really appreciate it, K123477. It's great to hear positive feedback as well as negative feedback.
Yeah.
So, we appreciate your insight, and as always, feel free to reach out to us if you have any specific ideas or anything you like or dislike about the show. That goes for all of you too. We're very available. You can go over to the website highnoonpodcast.com. You can find links to everything that the show has, as well as our personal social media links as well. So since I stole most of your outro from you there, I'll leave you to wrap it up.
Yes, and I don't know if this is on the website or not, but we should put it on. If it isn't, the link to the new, now public Discord for High Noon.
Oh, it's there.
Oh, awesome. So, yes, you can check that all out at highnoonpodcast.com. But we did recently open up the Discord channel to the public. We do still have some private server or some private chat rooms for the patrons, which you can always, if you wanted to become a patron, support the show, you can always head over to patreon.com/highnoonpodcast. The best way to support the show, of course, is by leaving an iTunes review, good, bad, or otherwise. We appreciate them all. They really do help us with the feedback, and we want to know what you like and what you don't like. We did get a comment recently about bringing back the Soldier Says segment, which we're not against. We just would like some submissions because we phoned it in for too many weeks, and we're like, okay, well, this isn't really working. But if there's ever stuff that we either did or we did one time that you really liked and you wanted it made into a segment, we could definitely talk about it. I love making stupid little segments, especially if you guys like them. Yeah, so definitely let us know.
And we know we didn't cover every single roster move and every org signing or dropping or all that stuff. There are some things we missed there. We will catch up on all of those next week, but we just had 2 weeks worth of tournaments and a new hero to talk about, so we pushed that off for the time being.
Yes, and we still are pushing an hour. So
yes,
but that's going to be it, guys. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you to all the new people in the Discord channel. It is on our pinned tweet on Twitter, twitter.com/highnoonpodcast. Huge thanks to Matcherino for sponsoring our SoundCloud. Huge thanks to Adam Hoek, who made the awesome outro, which you are just about to hear. Thanks to all the patrons. Thanks to everyone everywhere. For Deathblow, guys, I am TheBlevins, and remember, it's High Noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now guides my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
Soldier Says. If you want a Soldier Says, submit it on the Twitter.
Yeah, I definitely forgot what Soldier